We used to play anything to do with a ball. We would call it hockey. So we would play foot hockey, we'd play hand hockey, take a few pennies and play hockey on the table. So hockey is just, a very pure sport.
We all played on the streets. That was what we did after school and on Saturday and Sundays. So there's no doubt that we've brought that same attitude to the rink here, and I think, especially for our generation, it was, a major pastime for us.
I moved a lot as a kid, and so that was the instant way into friends. Was you walk out into the street, and even if they don't let you play the first day, they will ultimately let you play the road hockey game, and then you get to know people. And I was always okay enough to make friends.
It doesn't require a lot of skill to enjoy playing, for sure. Otherwise, I wouldn't really have had any fun.
I remember the old days when I was growing up, and when basically all of us guys would just get up in the morning and play sports from when the sun went up till when the sun went down.
Walked by the arena or the park and saw the lads playing, and I got the itch. I went down and asked some questions, and I was welcomed right away. Right now the league's really packed and we have a big waiting list. We didn't then, and so I got in right away.
And one evening, walking through the park, I see ball hockey. And I kind of lit up with excitement, ball hockey. And what made it more exciting for me was people that were my age playing this ball hockey. They said, just come out. I said, really, that's it? Just come out? Because they were short players for the fall season.
Robbins, famous. Joe, myself, Craig, Eddie. 2, 3. Ow! Nice one, guys. Wide.
And it's brought me back to my youth, what really made me feel part of Canadiana.
To have a regular weekly thing that brings everybody together.
Both, go. Good job, have it! Yeah! That's what I'm talking about! I'm so sure. Change your mind. Come on, Max.
And after, we would go up to the pub and we'd have a pint, and it's a great way to unload stress of the day.
I think you need like a kid-like pursuit to kind of keep you young. Yeah. It really, psychologically, I think continuing to play the game actually just makes us a lot healthier, because you don't necessarily feel like old men.
But you have whatever's going on in your life, your family, your kids, whatever. But for 48 minutes on the rink, you're not thinking about anything else.
Yes, nothing. When we're on the floor. Yeah. For 1 hour a week, it feels like it did when we were playing. Yeah.
And then for the rest of the week, it feels like when you're 75.
Quite different. But that 1 hour, it kind of turns back.
Well, I agree with you, and I think
this is a little bit of an extrapolation of being a kid in a neighborhood, because these are all neighborhood, at least to some extent, people that are associated with Riverdale, and that means that you're associated with where people live, with their families, with their kids, with their wives or their husbands, and that all matters. That all puts the community right in front of you.
If you live, work, and play in the same area, then even if someone leaves, there's that community is still there. The live and work part. So you're going to be in touch. And here it's just, we're all still kind of within a few kilometers of each other, and it makes a difference.
There is a very universally accepted code of acceptance and behavior, and also forgiveness. I know that sounds strange, but in these games, people lose their stuff sometimes. And that's okay within the confines of these games and in the rink, because there is an underwritten rule that all is forgiven at the end, that you walk out and all the slate is clean. And so I like that about hockey. I like the fact that it's psychologically and physically challenging, but the end game is civil.
There's 100 guys that play ball hockey, and the magic of Withrow Park setup is that they blow the teams up every year. And that's unusual in hockey, I think, and in sports in general. And the result is, over a few years, it's a lot of work to do this, which is probably why it's unusual. But the reality is that after a few years, you've played with everybody, and you know everybody.
There's more of a strong league feel that everybody knows everybody, and everybody looks out for everybody, and as a result, I think that's one of the things that goes a long way in the gentlemanly side of how the league operates, that your teammate from last year is somebody that you don't want to be slashing with two hands because he accidentally fell into you in the corner.
It cuts across every socioeconomic and professional demographic that you can imagine. And yet when we're on the floor, it's kind of like it's the great equalizer. Nobody knows that. You all look the same wearing a helmet. And everybody just seems to get along so well.
Ball hockey for me is in a sense a bit of meditation. When I come to play, it's the only thing I think about. When I don't, nothing really intrudes. For the 2 hours I'm before the game and during the game and after the game, nothing else really intrudes on that space.
What people have to recognize if they come and watch one of our games, there's guys that are incredibly gifted and talented and good at playing hockey, and then there's other guys that are, quite frankly, just average at best, or if not even not average, not very good. And it's a welcoming group. It's a group that, we have guys, if we were to rate people from 1 to 10, which we do, we've got guys that are rated a 2 up to a guy that's rated a 10 in terms of their ball hockey ability. But it doesn't matter because everybody's welcome to play.
You get together, you laugh, you joke, you have fun together, you do stuff together, you're connected. And, I think this little group has hit it out of the park, in that formula. It's everything. It's right there, and it's in our community.
I've been in the emergency room 3 times in the last year.
And some of them have even been for ball hockey.
For ball hockey. And it's all bone chips. It's all like past. Really? Right? I got the original stuff right there.
My doc says that what you do, this ball hockey thing, is awful for you. Terrible. I can't think of anything worse. Keep playing.
Doing it. The only thing worse is stopping.
Yeah.
I remember asking somebody on my team, who's the oldest guy in the league?
See the guy in the red helmet out there?
Yeah.
That's Dave Kidd.
He's 52. What?
Yeah.
Somebody is 52 in our league?
Yeah.
That's not funny.
I know, that's what I was flabbergasted.
If anything, I think the quality of the ball hockey has gone up. I think we play a lot smarter ball hockey than we did then, and rely on moving the ball more so than one-on-one type plays and running with the ball.
Because you find over the years, your skills decline. I can see and feel my skills declining as I get older. I'm not as good as I used to be, and that's annoying, because the ball comes to you, it's a perfect tape-to-tape pass, and I miss it. And it's interesting to document that year by year, and how long it takes me to recover.
When I was younger, I felt it the day after. When I got older, I felt it the second day the worst. And then I started to feel when I was playing.
Right.
And that's when I realized...
That's when the bell rings.
You deserve water.
I work for a living, physically, and very few injuries from that. But in ball hockey, I've injured myself pretty good several times, and I've had a knee rebuilt. I've got some elbow problems, and some back problems. And you rehab them. You learn your body, and you learn to rehab, and then you come back, and you hope to come back. But I don't know how well I would rehab if I didn't have to or didn't want to play ball hockey again.
Awareness of our physical limitations means that instead of playing 3 times a week, you play maybe once or twice a week, and you also have to stretch and do things that certainly were not on the radar before. So in a way that makes ball hockey more important, because you don't take it for granted in the way, when you play 3 or 4 times, you just go out and you play, is different than when you're Tuesday night, it's once a week, it's important, you want to be ready for that. So less is more in a way.
I think if we didn't have all these strong friendships and we didn't value the camaraderie in the league, that many of us would have quit already.
In an old-timers way every week on the ball hockey court, fighting for each other and trying to push your team ahead. But in a much broader sense, you become close friends with these guys, and you find out about their lives and their ups and their downs, and they're your community. And so it's just natural to reach out when somebody needs a hand.
People, often say, well, you only have the friends, the friends you made up until the time you're 21 or so are the friends you have for life. And actually, this game, sort of, I think, crumbles that myth quite.
My very first game, I didn't know anybody aside from Roger. The rest of them were complete strangers to me, every one of them. And I remember in my first game, I'm battling with this one guy, and it was getting pretty serious in front of the net. And he and I exchanged words, and that gentleman's name is Phil St. Jules. And over the years, Phil also has become, I would say, a very good friend of mine. So it's funny how, again, you start off as antagonists, and then as you get to know each other over time, as much as you compete, you always compete just up to a certain level, because these guys are ultimately your friends.
Good. Just on time.
Sorry, I have to order another pitcher.
I think the great thing about it is that people are willing to reach out in the league and are not ashamed to reach out when they need help, which is unusual for males, and it's unusual that everybody reacts in a positive way.
How much more there is to the friendship than just the 2 hours you spend together, you would otherwise spend together in a week. You go out after, you have a couple of beers, and then off you go, and you don't really know what's going on in their lives the way that we know what's going on. I think one of the things that I learned through that whole, through the whole divorce process was just that there are a lot of guys out there. Sometimes it's just a matter of reaching out a little bit. But you sort of, you go a long stretch in your life as sort of the guy who doesn't need help, the guy who helps others. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you need help, and it's hard, because I think that women and men do this differently. That when a woman needs support, the women are there to support her. They're right there, and they're what can we do? Like, let's take you out of the house, let's do stuff.
Let's get a spreadsheet.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Organized meal deliveries.
And so a lot of them are a little bit better at being overt and explicit and direct about saying, hey, I need to talk about this.
And what I found was that I had a lot of guys say to me, whatever you need, just let me know. Yeah. Right? So it's sort of the onus is on you. True. Like, I knew I had friends, but do I have the kind of friends that move me or drive me to the airport? It's a whole other level of friendship. And then I had 14 of the 15 guys show up, and one guy who couldn't come brought breakfast for us. Yeah. So it was, I remember just driving the truck back and thinking, I'm going to be all right. I'm going to be all right.
I didn't, when I first came into the league, I wasn't really aware of the captains and how they were the pillars of behavioral aspects of the league.
I mean, you've got a stick in your hand, so things are going to happen sometimes.
They were the Senate of the league. They were the sober second thought.
So when organizing the men's league, we get together before the season starts, and we rate all the players, and the goal, of course, is parity among the teams. We want the league to be perfectly balanced. If there's a team that's dominating or a team that is failing miserably each week, we take remedial action, because part of the fun of playing in the league is that it's so equally balanced.
When I coach, I always say it's not about the result, it's about what you give out there and how you play the game, and if you're playing the game right, the results will take care of themselves.
I had a motto on the bench, and that was no negative talk from the bench. Any negative talk would come from the captain or the coach, and he would say it, in private if possible. But I told the guys, they know what they did wrong. They already know. Just don't worry about it. And it was a good motto. It's a good way to motivate the lads to play well.
Both Shay and I have this unique perspective because we coach in the women's division and play in the guys, and that's the difference. Guys get on the rink, get the ball, they want to start shooting at the goalie's head.
Yeah, all they want to do.
That's it. They get together and they're talking. The ref is blowing his whistle, and I'm yelling at them to put their helmets on. Time's are ticking, and I'll say that that's what the bar is for. Go to the bar after.
That's exactly what I say.
That's
what I say. Yeah, catch up at the bar.
It's a very different
dynamic, isn't it?
And it wasn't that actually the guys are born with it, because I coached the little kid. I coached the kids. Boys get it at around age 13. And suddenly they know everything. They become like a combination of Toe Blake and Wayne Gretzky rolled together.
Boys get everything at 13.
They know it all. Despite how little they know, they know it all. Whereas the women actually believe that they still have something to learn to get from coaching.
Nice corn.
So the first time we went to the Ontarios as a team was maybe a dozen years ago.
At the provincial level, it's taken more seriously. The refereeing is a little bit more lax, and as a result, it's a lot more rough and tumble, even at a master's level.
And most guys had never done anything like this. And we took a bus, close to 20 guys. We were an awful, awful team. Like, there is, in comparison to what we were going to face out there. We were kind of like this milquetoast team that showed up to play these blue collar, hard playing, athletic guys who just use the toilet bowl for their water bottles. In the first couple of games, we were just annihilated. But what we realized as we were getting killed was that we were having a pretty good time. The losses didn't seem to be affecting our time.
I remember they had asked me to coach their provincial team that had never done very well, and the first year I got them, the all-star team, they ended up winning a bronze medal, winning some game, and from there, all the skills that I taught them, they started to get better and better.
We were playing a team that had been our nemesis for many, many years, a team out of Ottawa. It was a game that we had well in hand. We were up 2 goals with about a minute and a half left to play. And they scored 3 goals in the last, I think it was 86 seconds. And there was no overtime required.
Unfortunately for our good Withrow Park guys, they would always come a little bit short. But for me, looking on it on a global scale, I knew a lot of these teams that they were playing against were guys I played against. So for them to get so close showed me how well they did. And I always told them, you guys may have won a bronze medal. I think they won 3 out of 4 years of bronze medal where they hadn't won before. I said, that's a gold in my eyes, because you guys really came a long way.
I would rather lose with the Withrow team than win with any other team. There's not a better bunch of losers in the world.
Well, I remember one day I walked into Leaside Arena and I saw a poster. It was the World Ball Hockey Championships, and I'm looking at the list of teams, right? And then right at the bottom of the list, number 8, was Bermuda. And I thought, Bermuda? What the heck? Bermuda has a ball hockey team? And then I thought, like a light bulb went on, and I said, wow, I think it'd be a great idea if we can take some of the guys from Withrow to play the national squad in Bermuda. We'll probably get our butts kicked, but we'll have a good time.
I remember going to play in Bermuda, and it's a pretty serious ball hockey in Bermuda. Like they train, they've got a very successful team that plays in the Worlds there.
So we arrived to this gym to play these guys, and we were changing in the change room, and all we could hear was this thunderous noise upstairs as these guys were running back and forth across the gym.
It felt like we were like in the Coliseum, and they were about to feed us to the lions. And
Shane Maxwell, who was our goalie, almost fainted at one point. It was so hot, and we'd had a few beers in the afternoon before we'd arrived. We hadn't hydrated properly.
We got absolutely murdered and killed, but
but Saturday we regrouped, and we won the next 2 games.
And it's no longer about the hockey. It's about hanging out with your buds in a tropical location and playing the game that you love with your friends.
That's the great thing about our trips, is that the fact that we're playing ball hockey keeps us honest. So they're not drinking trips. They're trips where we do a little drinking and play a lot of ball hockey.
And when we get down to the islands, the island life is so cool, so relaxed, and you spend a lot of time at the beach. Everybody brings a frisbee or a little football or a ball that bounces on the water, and we're like kids again.
I guess that traveling culminated in a trip that we made to Pilsen in the Czech Republic. And this was where we entered our team as a community team in a tournament, an old-timers tournament over 40, World Championship. We went there with, no expectation that we were going to win, but that we were going to compete and have fun and, do the best we possibly could based on our age and skill sets.
We really took it upon ourselves to be fit. We knew we were going to be likely the least talented team overall, so we knew we didn't want to embarrass ourselves, so we decided we were going to get fit. And we got Lisa to take us on and train us, and she pushed us.
Just so enthusiastic that many of us, including myself, weren't really doing the work that we said we were doing. We were faking the monthly reports, and etc. But we felt so bad after a while, based on our enthusiasm, that we actually started to work at it. And we actually trained for a year, and going into that tournament, we were all in very, very good shape.
And so we were playing for 7th place, and we're playing against Austria, and we won the game. At the end of the game, they play your country's national anthem.
Standing there, facing the Canadian flag, all of us together in a line, and they played the Canadian anthem. I had goosebumps, head to toe.
It really meant a lot to me to be able to share this with my brothers. The times we had running up and down Riverdale Hill to train for Masters. It all came to a head, and it was so worth it. It was incredible. It was incredible.
It was as close to the NHL as we're going to get. It was great. That was an amazing trip.
Hill running, stair climbing, running 10Ks. We really worked hard at it, and it really paid off. There was a handful of us that continued with it, but most of us got fat and lazy subsequently.
Everyone has insinuated themselves into everyone else's lives, and there's a core group of players that for whom one another seems to be important, and we do sort of take care of one another when someone gets sick or really sick. It's important that we step up, and it just happens naturally. In a way, it's just like an extension of managing the league. It just becomes another important item on our agenda, except it usually moves to the top of the agenda when we have our meetings.
Chris Patterson was a player in the league who passed away 2 years ago from pancreatic cancer. He and I were co-captains for 5 or 6 years together. So we were just kind of yin and yang. Talks were always deep with Chris, always political. and our families knew each other. And he called me, I guess, a couple of years ago with another saying, hey, can we meet for a drink? Do you mind? It's important. He just said, I've got some really bad news. And what? He said, I probably have pancreatic cancer. It was a real shock. And then you just kind of go into okay, how are we going to support you? How are we going to deal with this? And the whole community came together, and it was, the journey of 11 months or whatever. He died in January the next year. So
it was a lovely outpouring, and the contacts from all that came, of course, from this group of guys, right, who of course would do that. It just comes from the fact that we've been forced into a situation of our own doing that has gotten us to know each other really well, and that's kind of unusual in this day and age.
I dare say that that's not the kind of support that you just get from your neighbors or friends of yours that live in the neighborhood. It's really as a result of our trials and tribulations together as a team and as players, and our trips together that have made us as close as we are.
And we created a GoFundMe support, where we raised a whole bunch of money, hoping that Chris was going to be able to use that for whatever treatment that he might have been able to take or afford, whether it was here in Canada or the US. He was looking at all options, and unfortunately and sadly, before he could really explore any of those options, it was too late.
I'm 48 years old. I'll be 49 in August. But I said to Letty Abramowitz, I said, with my cancer, Letty, who really knows what's going to happen? There's a chance that I may not make it to 50, but I cannot die not becoming a cock. It's an acronym for Knights Over 50 Captain Society, KOCS. And the other night, it was our spring championship night where the two final teams played off for the spring championship. And you bring the trophy to the bar, and you drink out of the trophy, and it's just stupid stuff. But around 11:30 at night, resident announcer and DJ Roger Day got up on stage, and he said, "We're here to honor Chris Patterson." When you receive recognition from your peers, it honestly is the highest praise you can receive. And it is also the most humbling moment you can experience. I'm just a nutball like the rest of these guys. I'm not special. But these guys made me feel special. They make me feel special. And on this particular night, they really made me feel special. And that is a feeling that I will never, I will go to my grave with.
It's hard to get into our league. There's very little attrition. I mean, if you put your name on the waiting list, you can be on there for years. You might get called up for a game or two, but nobody wants to leave this league. It's a good thing.
Having my kids grow up in the league makes it a very special place for me. At one point I was on the board, and I'm still on the board, but I was chairman of the board for a number of years and ran the league. So its continued growth means a lot to me, and being down at the park and seeing what's going on means a lot to me. But what I wanted to accomplish was to make sure that kids who were 15, 16, 20 would be still playing ball hockey or looking for a league to play in and doing the same sort of thing that I did when I first came to Toronto, which was try and find somebody that you wanted to play ball hockey with.
Probably I'll quit when I do have another outlet. At the moment I don't. And it's hard to think of anything that we can do as a group with the same level of camaraderie. I think that's why we're all reluctant to quit. I think we would have, physically, I think some of us would have quit earlier if we had an alternative. We just don't have one.
Oh, so we'll be playing sledge hockey on skateboards, probably in 5 years. Maybe with a beeping ball, depending on how our eyesight's going.
I can't see this being completely gone from my day-to-day, week-to-week existence. It's too good. I stumbled on it like a treasure, and there's no way I'm going to let it slip away and lose all my relationships with these guys.
I think it's very important for us to make sure that we do transition the league to younger guys that have the same spirit that we do and that can benefit from it the same way we have.
I think guys are less silent now.
I think so.
I think in a general sense, right? It's just, but we've also, you start to see, we've known each other now 15 or 20 years. We're getting
crazy,
older.
eh?
Yeah,
No.
and you also start to see the finish line of things and where our parents are going and so on, and where we're headed. Yeah, it's your bedroom at my street. I'm trying to coax the guys into the next stage, which is tennis. Doubles, easy on the knees, and more genteel.
You have to do some warming up. It eats into the playing time. That leg is sore.
Nice shot! Eddie.
And the falling leaves in the dark of night. Aging teens still live their dreams underneath the lights. When the season finally ends, what rewards have we reaped? Look around and count your friends. That's the score we keep. Well, my knees are sore and my hands won't score. My head is pounding in pain. The will is strong, but the legs, they're gone. Every week it's the same. Well, my knees are sore and my hands won't score. My head is pounding in pain. The will is strong, but the legs are gone. Every week it's the same.
We're here to have fun, and it's just, you know, making each other laugh is part of it, and it's great if you can get a guy laughing while they're playing the game, or you can get the referees kind of laughing at their mistakes, or, you know, it just shows how relaxed everybody is with the community, that they can actually laugh at themselves.